Hi, I'm MJ, and this is MJ Does Movies. This week we'll be reviewing Central Intelligence, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart, and directed by the same guy who made Dodgeball. I like Dodgeball. I was kind of looking forward to this. I also really like Kevin Hart, and I didn't really think I would. He's not really the kind of comedian I'm into, although I do quite like Chris Tucker. Maybe he is, though. Maybe he is the kind of comedian I'm into. I don't know. Get Hard, I thought I was pretty good. I'm not sure it was him that I specifically liked about it. I quite like Ride Along. I thought Ride Along was fairly funny, had a kind of a Rush Hour vibe, and those who know me know that Rush Hour 2 was probably one of my favourite action buddy comedies ever. I quite like The Rock. He's fairly entertaining. I really liked him in Pain and Gain. He really stood out as kind of a comedic actor in that film. I was quite excited to see what he would do when combined with Kevin Hart. The film opens up with this kind of big fat guy singing in the shower, and it kind of looks like the body of E. Honda from the Street Fighter movie, and it turns out to be Dwayne Johnson, and they've superimposed his face onto this body. But it doesn't look very good. It looks like, you know, when you do one of those face swap app things. It's a comedy, so I kind of think, okay, I'll let that go. And then we see Kevin Hart, and he's been introduced to the high school, and he's like super cool and super awesome, and he's called the Golden Jet, and everyone loves him. And then the bullies push Dwayne Johnson completely naked into the hall, and everyone's laughing at him. Everyone is laughing at him. It's really awful, and Kevin Hart's the only one who kind of feels like, oh man, this is awful. Like, so he gives him his jacket, he covers him up. You know, the whole opening had quite a good kind of quirky sense of humour to it. It was all quite quirky and funny, and I thought, all right, we're in for a fun ride here. So then we cut to the credits, and the credits are like, they don't fit the tone that have been set up at all. They're like really super serious, like spy credits, almost like the credits from Seven. You know, they're like, oh, this is a bit of a shift in tone. I don't feel like we've been set up for that. Oh, right, it must be kind of becoming this kind of movie now. From the trailers, I kind of got the impression that it was kind of a bit of a spy movie meets comedy. So I thought, all right, so we're going to the spy element now. And then we cut back, and it's 20 years later, and there's Kevin Hart. My main problem going straight in was that when we met Kevin Hart, I thought, all right, he's not just playing, oh, like down on his luck Kevin Hart in this movie. He's playing, you know, an interesting kind of character. You know, he's like super cool and everyone thinks he's awesome, and it kind of reminded me of like 80s Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cop kind of character, you know, very confident. I thought, oh right, it's going to be really interesting. I really like the way he's portraying this character. And then they just went back to like, yeah, I'm Kevin Hart, I'm down on my luck. Oh, okay. It turns out he's not very happy with his life because he's never been promoted, and he was supposed to be like the biggest achiever in school, most likely to succeed at school, and it just never worked out for him, and everyone's getting promoted around him except for him, and he doesn't like it. And then he gets an email from a guy called Bob Stone, who then reveals himself to be the fat kid from school, called Robbie Weird Dick, I think. Yeah. He says he's in town for this big high school reunion, and he agrees to meet him. And they meet at this bar. This fat kid doesn't turn up, but obviously The Rock turns up. And this is basically the start of the film's humour, where everyone just goes, you used to be fat and now you're really muscly. Okay, but, you know, we've got more than that, though, haven't we, in here? And that's kind of the joke for the whole film. Oh, he used to be really fat, now he's really muscly. Look how big he is. Look how big The Rock is. Yeah, we kind of already know that. He's the fucking Rock. Kevin Hart gets into like a tussle when this guy tries to take The Rock's seat while he goes off to the toilet. And The Rock comes back, and he's like smacks the crap out of all these gangsters. Him and Kevin Hart kind of have a heart-to-heart. Lol. He says, if there's anything I can ever do for you, he says, well, actually, he says, I've got a bit of an accounting problem. And then you kind of get the feeling like, oh, he's kind of being played here. He looks into his accounts, and there's some suspicious activity going on in there. Kevin Hart doesn't really understand it. A tracer comes up on the computer, and The Rock knocks beer on it. It stops it from working. And then he says, oh, well, do you mind if I stay the night? You know, and he falls asleep on the couch in these pyjamas. And it's another joke like, oh, look how big he is, wearing little Kevin Hart's pyjamas. That's the level of comedy that we're going for here. Kevin Hart comes down in the morning, The Rock's still there, and there's a knock on the door, and it's the CIA. They basically say, like, is Ed Stone here? Because he's like an agent gone rogue, and they come in, and all the room's tidied up, and it makes no sense whatsoever. But I guess it was supposed to be a joke. Kevin Hart, from this point on, ends up kind of being like embroiled in this hunt for this rogue CIA agent, and then he turns up at his office, and he's like, are you in or you out? You know, I need your help. And Kevin Hart's like, I'm out. And he goes, oh, right, cool, we're in. And then these two basically go on the run whilst trying to find some codes in this data. And that's kind of the movie, really. So then it just kind of becomes like every film like this you've ever seen. So two guys, one of them doesn't want to be there and he's super scared of everything, and The Rock's like a super badass. They're trying to find out who this guy called the Black Badger is. The CIA or the FBI are hunting them down. They're trying to get this information. And that's about all you need to know, really. There's a bit of a twist at the end. It's not particularly surprising, but I guess it's a twist. Yeah, that's kind of sums up the story. The question is it any good? It's a pretty mediocre comedy. I mean, I enjoyed it to a degree, although towards the second act, I literally fell asleep for about 3 or 4 minutes, because by the second act, it just became so, like, dull, waiting for something to happen, that I just found myself, like, drifting off. You know, I've seen all this before, yeah, I know where this is going. Oh, it's still going. Okay. There's some good things in it, though. Kevin Hart's kind of pretty consistent at this point, and like I say, I thought he was going to do something interesting, but he really didn't. The Rock is actually majorly surprising in this. He doesn't go for, like, the tough, badass guy. He's like a super nerd. He's obsessed with the film 16 Candles all the way through the film. But he's like, hey Kev, like, you're so cool, man, all the way through. And at first, I thought it was just a ploy until he revealed that he was actually like an agent for the CIA, and then he was going to become like badass Rock. But to be fair to them, they kept it up, and that kind of made that character funny. But the jokes based on that were few and far between, whilst most of the jokes were really based on, look how big The Rock is, isn't he massive? Another problem was like the action scenes were like shot so close that you couldn't really see what was going on. And I think when you've got an actor like The Rock, you really want to take advantage of the fact that he's a trained stuntman. He's an excellent on-screen fighter who we've seen in countless other movies he's done. There's a little haha wink, like, oh my god, you look like Hercules. Like, you can see them like desperately trying not to look at the camera after they've said it. There's some good cameos in it. Jason Bateman shows up about halfway through. That's a really good scene. I won't spoil it, but it's a surprising scene on a couple of levels, and I thought, oh, all right, that's an interesting way to take it. And then they did something else that's even more interesting. I quite like that element of it. And there's a cameo at the end where I just went, ugh, fuck you. Seriously. What did I fucking expect? Ugh. It was a pointless cameo. It added nothing to it. The person that cameoed didn't add anything to it at all, apart from the fact that they're like a name. Like, oh my god. Not them again. All in all, it was a pretty mediocre kind of action buddy comedy. It's everything you expect it to be. If you're a big fan of The Rock and you're a big fan of Kevin Hart, you'll really like this. If you think they're alright, but like a bit more substance to your comedy, then this is probably not for you. There's a bunch of outtakes at the end. They make some massive jokes at The Rock's wrestler expense in one of those, and that was really funny. Then I thought, oh, how funny can this film have been if this was the funniest part? So that was my review of Central Intelligence. If you like this review, please like the video below and subscribe to my channel, and let me know if there's any films you'd like me to review in the future. So until next time, don't say goodbye, just say good journey. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, then you can check out some more reviews right here.